Salary. The money you receive from your employer at the end of each month actually comes from the word salt, the seasoning commonly used in foods. In ancient Rome, salt was a pricey but necessary commodity, so many transactions were done with salt, not money. It was said that the monthly allowance of many soldiers was paid with salt, and that's why salary finds its roots in the Latin word for salt. And now, when we receive a disappointing amount of salary, we can get salty about it with the boss. Nimrod, if you heard it in a casual conversation, is a term that's used for idiot or moron. But in the Bible, Nimrod was the great-grandson of Noah. Many Christian historians believe that he was the leader in building the Tower of Babel. So how come the word shifted from honoring a biblical figure to poking fun at someone unintelligent? We have to dig into the legend of Nimrod for that matter. In ancient times, Nimrod united people to build the Tower of Babel, hoping to reach the heavens. But God disrupted the work by scattering people around the world with different languages, so they could not complete the building. And because Nimrod's idea resulted in the wrath of God, his name became a sarcastic way to refer to a stupid person. Speaking of the word sarcastic, do you know the origin of the word sarcasm? It came from an ancient Greek word that means to strip off the flesh. That verb somehow became a metaphor for speaking bitterly, which is very fitting indeed. So while many people take pride in knowing that sarcasm is correlated with intelligence, watch your words, because someone may feel like you are digging into their flesh, and that hurts. Next up, we have the word villain, which is an indispensable part of any hero movie, with famous characters like Joker, Thanos, or Darth Vader. But in reality, the word is related to a Latin word in 14th century France, meaning inhabitants or servants inside a villa where the upper class lived. So a villain basically means a villager, who was just a regular person who was unfamiliar with the trappings of high society. As the people with more strength and currency set the social standards, poor people were often considered the source of crime. So the word's connotation got worsened and became what we use today. I wonder who's the real villain of the story here. But it really makes sense to call Thanos a villain, right? Since after destroying half of the universe, he retired and became a farmer. Of all the healthy food trends out there, I love avocado the most. From green smoothies to fresh salads, this green superfood is just delicious. However, the actual origin of the word doesn't have a tasty meaning at all. Avocado has its root from a late 1600s Spanish word, which was borrowed from Aztec people. Let's just say that the Aztecs had an interesting way to name the fruit, which literally means testicle. Come to think of it, the shape and the texture likely gave the avocado this iconic name, not to mention how they hang in pairs. So when the Spanish borrowed the word, we got ourselves avocado. Funny enough, some people think that guacamole, which was made from avocado, can mean testicle sauce. This is probably not true, but the next time you eat an avocado, you will surely remember the history of this word. That said, it's still very delicious, so don't be afraid to go nuts. Next up, we have the word that every gym rat is crazy about, muscle. Well, the word actually described a rat. This might seem strange, but ancient Romans thought that it made perfect sense. That's because the word muscle comes from a Roman word that means little mouse. People back then thought that the muscle movement, especially when you flex your bicep, looked like a mouse was running underneath your skin. Usually I don't like flexing my muscles too much, but now I will call it Little Jerry to proudly make it bigger. Surprising enough, the word girl did not originally mean girl, nor did it mean any specific gender. The word was first used in the 13th century to refer a young person in general, whether they were male or female. In the 16th century, gay girls were young women or girls. Wait, what about the word boy? Well, it came from a Middle English word meaning young man or servant, and is related to other Germanic words for boy. The ultimate origin of the word, though, is unknown. It is believed that the word hazard comes from an Arabic word meaning a game of chance played with dice. Through time, the definition eventually evolved from a game of chance to a chance of harm. There was a big element of risk in these dice games, not just from the gambling nature, but from the danger of dishonest people using weighted dice. So the games got, well, more hazardous, and gambling is correlated with disasters ever since. Speaking of disaster, did you know that the word had the original meaning of an unfavorable disposition of the stars? Back in ancient times, both in the East and West, people could look at the stars to know what was about to happen on Earth, because, well, heaven and earth are distinct yet bridgeable. If the arrangement of the stars was unfortunate, they would know that some calamities would soon happen, and that's why we have disaster. The word clue actually referred to a ball of thread in ancient Greek, which was what Theseus used to trace his steps through the labyrinth as he searched for the mythical Minotaur. Repeated multiple times during the pandemic, the word quarantine has its origins from the devastating plague of Black Death. It came from an Italian word for 40 days, which was the time ships had to be put into isolation on nearby islands before boarding to halt the spread of the plague. Okay is one of the most common words used in English, but it's actually a joke that went viral. It was an abbreviation for all correct, printed in a satirical article about grammar, but then got even more popular when Martin Van Buren used his hometown name, Old Kinderhook, as the OK Clubs to run for president in 1840. Freelancer is a widely used word today for short-term employees, but you can call them corporate mercenaries, and it wouldn't be too different from the original meaning. It was used to refer to a medieval mercenary who would fight for whichever nation or person paid them the most. What are the freelancers afraid of? Deadline, since it can reduce their income. But during the American Civil War, a deadline was literally life or death, as it was the line drawn around a prison where a prisoner could get shot if passing. Fortunately, that's not the case anymore, but deadline still gives many workers nightmares, just like me. And by saying nightmare, I seriously mean it. The word nightmare has a creepy origin. In Old English, it refers to a kind of evil spirit that rides on people's chests at night, causing suffocation and bad dreams. Yuck. At the beginning of the printing press, the letter blocks for capital letters were stored in higher cases than those for the normal versions of the letters. Thus, the uses of uppercase and lowercase in modern typing. Pretty straightforward, huh? Surprisingly, the word ketchup comes from a Cantonese word, which was a sauce of pickled fish and spices. When tomato ketchup was invented in the 19th century, it naturally earned the word. And now, more than 650 million bottles of Heinz ketchup are sold every year. The word geography originates from two Greek words. Geo refers to the earth, while graphy means writing. So geography literally means writing about the earth. Well, that's it for this video. Leave us some comments before you go, and thanks for watching.